Hello, Aldo Figueroa here again. In this series of videos, we are now going to be making tonal adjustments. We're going to change the make the darks darker, the lights lighter, and so on. We're going to go over different type of adjustments. I'm going to show you how to apply these directly to a layer versus applying these using what's called an adjustment layer. To start off, let's see, I'm here in Photoshop. I'm still using the file that I used previously. And what I have here are my edits that I created. Also my edits too, which is my edits here. Let me zoom in, which has a couple of adjustments. My edits too has more adjustments. And here is the original file. But before I do that, I'm going to clean this up a bit. You see all these other files or other layers that I have here? I don't want to delete them, but I want to kind of minimize them. To do so, within my layers panel, I'm going to create a new group. If I click on this, it creates like a folder. It's called Group 1. I'm going to select the layers that I don't want to, or that I want to apply into this group. You could either move them individually, but I want to move them as a group. I could select the top layer, hold down Shift, and click this series of series of layers that I'm going to be able to add. What you're also able to do on a Mac, if you hold down Command, you could deselect, or if on a PC, hold down Control, so that you could only select certain files, right? But I want all of these. I'm just going to click and drag. I'm going to click and hold down the left mouse button, drag this into group 1, and now they're inside this group. I'm going to click on this little icon right here. I'm going to bring them all back, have the visibility, but I could change the visibility to this one group, and I'm going to rename this one to Pixel Adjustments. Great, and I'm going to click on this little arrow to minimize them. So here I have my file. Now, if I want to, I could even do the same with my original layers. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new group, and I'm going to click on all of these. I'm going to hold down Shift, click the top one, hold down Shift, click the bottom one, and I'm going to drag and put them into group 1. I'm going to rename these to, I'll say the source images for the panorama. I'm going to minimize this, and now we're able to clean this up a bit. I want my edits and my edits too here because this gives me a more refined piece that I want to work with. But now I want to adjust the tonal values. To do so, I want to hide these two layers that I have right now. I'm going to make a copy of my original file, even though it doesn't have my edits. I'm going to make a copy of this one. This is my merge copy. I'm going to rename this one because I first want to use the brightness and contrast. I'm going to rename this one brightness/contrast. Now, before I begin, I want to show you that in Photoshop there are different levels of tools. Some that are fully automatic, and some that give you more control to more manual. So with this layer selected, this copy, if you go under Image, notice that here are the automatic tools. You have Autotone, Contrast, and Color. I'm going to tell it Autotone. I'm going to undo it because I want to be able to adjust it. Once I select it, it was very subtle. Very subtle. Good thing is that I have I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to hide my brightness and contrast. You can see it's very subtle. But I don't want this right now. I'm going to undo it. I'm going to either edit, undo, or Command or Control Z. So I have to go back a couple, do it over and over again. Okay, there we go. So these are the same. Instead of doing that, I want to have some control. As an artist, I want to be able to control some of these things. So I should take a moment and talk about under image. There are different modes of working with the color data in your file. If you notice, I'm going to exit this. up on top of your files, it oftentimes gives you the name of the layer, brightness and contrast. That's my layer that's currently selected. If I go to my edits too, you can see that changes. I'm going to go to brightness and contrast. But then you have this RGB/8. This is referring to the mode. We have RGB color. That's how the color data is being reproduced or it's being interpreted, and it's 8-bit. So depending on what you're working with, typically in this class, we're always going to be working with the RGB. But if you are working on stuff that is more specific, if you're either with printing press, something that's more high end, they might have you either do CMYK, lab, or multi-channel color. But for all the images, all the work that we're doing in class, Photoshop in the background is interpreting the color information using RGB. Now for the information right here where it says 8, 16, and 32 bits, this is how the information is being stored in 8-bit chunks, 16-bit, or 32 bits. All the files that we will be working in our class is always going to be 8 bits. Now don't think that giving these more bits means more options. This is more data, and certain applications, I'm sorry, certain, not application, but certain commands are only capable under 8 bits. Once you go to 16 and 32, this is more, again, for specific uses when you're using a lot more color information that you want Photoshop to process. Uh, those are specific use cases. So for right now, uh, all of our files are going to be RGB 8-bit. I just want to mention that. What I want to do is under adjustments, you'll see that we have different types of adjustments. The top deal with different tonal adjustments using your image, the darks and the lights of your image. The next group that we're going to be going over are going to be different color adjustments, the color data. And then we have other adjustments that are available as well that we're not going to be covering within this module within this week. I want to start off with the brightness and contrast. By going this method here, I want to show you that we have our layer selected. It's only applying this to that currently selected layer. So under brightness, we want to make sure the preview is turned on. You have two different meters. You can either increase or decrease the brightness. You can see if as I decrease it, we get some more details going on. I'm going to zoom out just a bit, Command or Control minus, just so we could see this. Or I can increase the contrast. I can make this more contrasty or less. So I can make it less, but then I increase the brightness. Or I can make this more contrasty as well. You can see that we have a little bit more control as opposed to the auto contrast that just basically sets it up. If I click on this preview, you can see the before and after. Now notice that there is this use legacy. If you turn this on, it resets it, but then you have the potential of really pushing your colors, the data within your image, and that you might even get something that looks something like this. This is what's called color banding, because now if you push it so far, you'll get these bands of color that your color data is being pushed to the far extremes. But if you don't push it too far, you get some really interesting effects. The one issue that I have with using this method of applying a layer adjustment, it's that it's applying this adjustment directly to your layer data. So say, for example, I'm going to go ahead and leave my image like this. Once I select OK, my layer, the information on this layer has been adjusted. My color information has been adjusted. This is good if you need to adjust the color information to an individual layer. But we also have a method of being able to apply this using a layer adjustment. And layer adjustment applies it to everything underneath it. We're going to be going over a layer using a layer adjustment within the next video. But right now, I want you to try this out on this layer. A couple things that I want to mention is that right now, I still could do the edit undo, but if I was to close my file down, close Photoshop, open it up, that undo information goes away when you close down your file, when you close down Photoshop. You are not able to undo this step because you apply this directly to this layer. So just keep that in mind. So in the next video, we're going to go over applying a layer adjustment, but then going to other controls that give us a little bit more ability to customize the color, the tonal data within our image. I'll see you there.